Over the past few years, it seems like Stellantis has been on a path to self-destruction. First, they raised prices of their trucks and SUVs. Then they stopped building one of the best V8 engines ever made. And then they create this abomination. I honestly thought there was no way that they could recover from these terrible decisions. But now, it looks like everything could turn around for iconic Stellantis brands like Ram, Dodge, and Jeep. So in this video, we're going to talk about everything Stellantis has screwed up over the past few years, and how a recent announcement from Stellantis might actually bring these iconic brands back from the dead. I've personally been a huge fan of Stellantis brands like Dodge, Jeep, and Ram for quite a long time. And I currently even own a 2019 Jeep Rubicon like you can see here. So when I see Stellantis moving in a direction where their customers just don't want them to go, I feel like it's important to point these things out, and hopefully people from Stellantis will see this video and just listen to what I have to say. And I think they are making some moves in the right direction now with firing Carlos Tavares and bringing back the Ram and Dodge CEO, who's basically like the father of the Hemi V8. But before we get into the announcement and what I think is some good news coming out of Stellantis lately, I think we really need to talk about some of the things that they have done wrong over the past couple of years, and in the past few months, even more recently. And the first big mistake is right here in front of me, this EV Dodge Challenger Daytona. And this is really dirty. It's covered in dust. I'm thinking they just got it in because it's at the back of the lot. But there's a lot of huge issues with this new Charger, and I'm gonna go ahead and point them out right now. And the first big glaring thing is obvious, and that's the powertrain. They went from an awesome V8 Hemi Hellcat engine with superchargers and tons of power, and even the Demon had like 1,000 million horsepower, you know what I mean? And then they go from something that not only is fast but also sounds good, and that us as Americans love in a muscle car. And one big thing that is a problem here is Dodge is calling this a muscle car. And this is totally goes against everything that a muscle car should ever be. Muscle cars are big, powerful, loud V8 engines that just screams bald eagles, if you know what I'm saying. This just screams newly hatched baby chicken. And what makes it even worse is because they know people like the sound of the V8, they did something as dumb as putting in a fake V8 sound for the exhaust, which everybody hates. And when it was first introduced, they were driving it around and revving it, and there was absolutely dead silence. I mean, you could probably hear a cricket from a mile away when they revealed this thing. And another big issue is the price. So I'm gonna read this sticker. This is a 2025 Charger Daytona RT Blacktop. And the price is probably going to shock you. This thing is $63,480. $63,480 for an electric car that nobody wants to buy, and that also nobody even asked for. So these Chargers right now are just sitting on the lot and nobody's buying them. And actually the dealers are so desperate to sell these things that they're actually pawning these off onto employees and giving them crazy deals on leases where they pay like a couple $100s a month to get some of these on the road. And I talked to a couple of salesmen here a few weeks ago, and they both got one because it was just so cheap that it was hard to say no. But everything is not a fail on this. I personally think it looks pretty decent. It's probably not as good looking as the outgoing car, but it is a bit modernized, and it's not a terrible design. It actually looks pretty decent. The interior is actually really nice as well, and I actually like this interior more than the outgoing model. This just looks a little bit more modernized. The only thing I don't like is the flat top and bottom steering wheel that you can see there. It's not really great. It's kind of stupid, to be honest. But the seats are a huge step up from last year's model. And the front's not terrible, but not great. As a front end, it does look pretty good. The only thing I don't really like is this weird like scoop thingy right here. It kind of doesn't really make any sense, and honestly does not look that great. It might provide a little bit more downforce, but not that much to where you need to just ruin the look of the car. But things are not all bad for this car. There's some recent talk about them bringing back the Hemi V8 and putting it not only back in this car, but also in some of the trucks. But we'll talk more about that in just a second. As I was walking around, I found something really interesting. Here's the new fully electric charger thingy. It looks okay, not as good as the outgoing one, and obviously it's an EV. but the price is stupid. Charger, Daytona Scat Pack, track package. On an EV, all those words make me laugh or puke all at the same time. But this thing is $85,170. For this stupid thing, just get a used Hellcat. Come on, that's crazy. As an example, they have this right here. It's a 2023 Challenger 1320 with the 392 V8. And compared to that other one, this is only $58,240. With the awesome 392 V8, why would you get the new all-electric one when you have this awesome beast right here? Now, one of the next things we need to talk about, something Jeep is doing wrong, and we're moving on to Jeep for just a short break in here, and then we'll get to some of the other things. But I want to talk about some good things Jeep is doing, but also one big negative when it comes to the new Jeep Wrangler. First of all, they're bringing in some new colors that I really like this kind of dark army green right here, or commando green. I don't know what they call it. Let me see what they call this green. This is actually like a 1941 exterior paint, so it's like a 1941 edition paint. And then they also had this really super dark blue color, and if the sun was out, it would actually pop. But right now the sun is not out, so it looks really dark. And then another color that they brought back that they got rid of a few years ago is this green color. And it's definitely a color that pops. But other than some colors and changes to the front grille, as you can see, it's different than the previous 24 model and older. They also did some changes to the axles that make it easier to maintain and less likely to fall apart on the trail. But other than that, it's pretty much the same Jeep. They updated the dash a little bit, which I like the previous generation dash a lot more. It's more classic looking. But despite some of these changes that move the Jeep a little bit more forward as far as axles go and interior, which everything in the interior is the same. There's just a different layout of the dash. You know, sometimes when I'm driving in my Jeep, it can feel a bit sluggish, and that's probably because I put a lower grade fuel in it. Well, your body works the same way. If you don't give it the proper fuel every day, you're gonna feel a little bit off. So over the past few weeks, I've been fueling my body with my go-to morning drink, thanks to today's sponsor, AG1. AG1 is so much more than greens. It's your daily drinkable scoop of vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and whole food source ingredients validated by research and formulated for you. AG1 helps your whole body, brain, and gut health thrive. I've been drinking AG1 in the morning, and it's a great way to start the day with a healthy kick to my system. And it's a bonus that it also just tastes really good. AG1 contains prebiotics and probiotics that work together to support your body's ability to break down food. B vitamins support energy without that caffeine crash you get from coffee. AG1 also contains antioxidants, probiotics, and functional mushrooms to support overall immune health. If you want to try AG1 for yourself, I highly recommend it. Go to drinkag1.com/motorfiend or scan the QR code to subscribe and save $20 off of your first subscription of AG1. AG1 is one of the easiest things that you can do for your health every day. Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Bit of a lift and 35-inch tires in these little fender flares. And I want to show you something really interesting with this. The price of this gets pretty insane. You're looking at $70,740 for a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. That's not even a 392. Those are even crazier. Those are like 110 grand now. So I want to show you something, if you're looking at a Jeep, something you could do instead of buying this new one for 70 grand. You could do what I did. Again, this is my 2019 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. It's pretty much loaded out with every single option you could get in 2019, but mine has every single option. And I want to show you what the MSRP was back in 2019 when this came out, and then tell you what I paid for it and some things I did that make it better than that $70,000 blue Rubicon right there. It was $57,290. And even the one over here that has cloth seats, $64,000. So it's not even loaded up as much as mine was. But I actually got this used about a year and a half ago with about 16,000 miles for $45,000. And then I spent about $8,000 putting a 2.5-inch lift by AEV on it, buying these 1552 wheels, and also putting 37-inch tires on it. And then of course, I added the winch into the bumper here, but the steel bumpers were on it. This was everything you could get. And here's another funny thing. Mine came with the steel bumper for that $45,000 price, or 57 MSRP. This 70,000 one doesn't even have the steel bumper option, which for 70 grand is honestly really stupid. So for $53,000 all in on this thing after I did all of the mods, I'm almost $20,000 less than that blue one back there for something that's honestly even better. I've got a bigger lift, I've got 37s, I was able to put all kinds of adjustable steering stabilizers, I got every metal cloak control arm that you can find, and I even found the fender flare extensions from Mopar for like $80, and it took me like an hour to put them on. So that's another big problem with Jeep. And also Ram, the prices just are astronomically ridiculous right now. And you can see in the past 5 years, they've gone up like almost 15 to 20 grand for the same trim level as you could get back in 2019 and 2020. Now, if you thought the Jeep prices were crazy, let me show you something that I never thought would be as much as it is. And that's one of the last remaining Chrysler products that you can buy. I think, fact check me, but I think the Chrysler Pacifica is the only Chrysler that you can buy right now. I don't think they have anything else that you can buy. And this is way more than you think that it would be. For this 2025 Pacifica Select trim level, you're looking at $46,915. But obviously, if we're talking about Stellantis, we need to talk about one of their most popular vehicles, and that's the Ram truck. And the interesting thing that I'm noticing right now as I'm walking around here is these are all HD trucks. I don't see a non-HD truck sitting on the lot anywhere right now. But we got this 2500 with the Cummins turbo diesel, and it's still a 2024 model sitting around for a whopping $81,050. Okay, so I did find a couple of 1500s, and these are one of the considered like lower, more entry-level trim levels of the Ram truck. And it's the Warlock edition. It's not like the lowest trim level, but it's probably a step above that. And this specific one is a 1500 SST, and so is this black one here, also a Warlock. So let's see how much in 2025 an entry-level Ram will cost you. For this 1500 Warlock Crew Cab 4x4, it is a 2025 model with the new 3-liter Hurricane engine, which we'll talk about in just a second. You're looking at $58,240. And so $58,240 for a more entry-level truck is pretty crazy, and that's why right now you'll see 10 grand off if you walk into the dealership. Most of the new trucks are like $10,000 off, bringing it down to 48,000, because honestly almost 60 grand for a more entry-level, lower trim Ram truck is kind of crazy. But moving on to that Hurricane engine, I think there's going to be some good and bad things about it. And we'll talk about that real quick, and then we'll move on to some of the recent news that might change everything and turn it around for Stellantis. That new Hurricane twin-turbo engine has been quite controversial, and a lot of government regulation and things has been some of the reason for this, and a lot of the reason for the demise of the Hemi. You know, about a year ago, Dodge and Ram got rid of the Hemi engine. They stopped making it. They stopped putting it in vehicles. They killed awesome cars like the Demon and the 392 Jeep Wrangler. And they also got rid of the Hemi in the Ram TRX and put in a twin-turbo 6-cylinder engine, which a lot of people were not happy about. And to be honest, a lot of the videos I see of people doing reviews on it, most that are positive, most of those are paid reviews. So be aware of some of these channels that always do good reviews on every single vehicle. More than likely, they were paid to do that. Now, do I think this inline 6-cylinder in the Ram trucks is gonna completely suck? I don't think so. I think it has more power, which is good. And let me explain why there's gonna be kind of a love-hate with that. And for that, I gotta go back to my Jeep right here. Now, the previous Jeep that I had was a JK, previous generation before the JL, and it had the 6-cylinder engine. While it was enough power for off-roading on the highway with any kind of lift or going through mountain passes, it was just a complete turd. However, I actually ended up going out on a limb and getting this 2019 with the 2-liter turbo, and it also in this year had the e-torque system. And when these first came out with the e-torque, they were also very controversial. Not many people bought them, and 2 years later, they got rid of the e-torque. But I actually gotta say that this 2-liter e-torque, I have liked it so much better than I thought I would, and I honestly think it's better overall than the previous outgoing 6-cylinder engine for a couple reasons. One, once I lifted it on these 37-inch tires, it actually barely skipped a beat, especially when going through the mountains. It can just drop it a gear or two with that 8-speed transmission and the turbos spool up and have enough power to where I don't feel like it's ever struggling to get through any mountain pass. And with that little e-torque system, the low end torque when I'm taking it off-roading in places like Moab just pulls it over everything. I've never gotten stuck in this. But I will say one big thing. I am a huge fan of the Hemi engines, especially the 392. And as soon as this motor goes out, or it just becomes unreliable or hits 100,000 miles or it explodes, whatever, I'm probably gonna do a 392 swap in this thing. So, and if I had a 392, I would prefer it. And that's where a lot of this recent changes to engines with Stellantis comes in. And that's where some of this good news comes into play. And what's the main reason driving this change from the super reliable V8 Hemi engine that everyone has known and loved over the past couple of decades to this twin turbo Hurricane engine setup? And I did an old Google search here, and their little AI spit out an answer, and I'm gonna read it to you. Ram is getting rid of its V8 engine, specifically the Hemi V8, primarily due to increasing pressure to meet stricter emission standards and improve fuel efficiency. With the company transitioning to more advanced, powerful, and fuel-efficient engine options like the twin turbocharged Hurricane inline-6, which apparently offers similar performance while emitting less CO2. And it goes on to continue saying that all the stricter regulations that government and the EPA has been putting on car manufacturers has really driven the switch to this engine. And there's a few things that apparently might change on that. The Trump administration is walking back on a lot of these policies that Joe Biden and his team and all the Democrats have been doing to push the EPA into forcing people to get rid of these engines and a bunch of other stuff. But however, now that Trump's in office, things are about to change, and it looks like there's a chance that the Hemi V8 could make a comeback. One, because the new administration is rolling back a lot of these 2030, 2035 initiatives that everything had to switch to electric or hybrid or whatever. And a second reason why the V8 might come back is the new CEO has been talking about bringing back the Hemi V8. Now, is moving to that inline twin turbo engine a big mistake? Is it gonna bring Ram down forever? I don't think so, and there's two reasons why. One, it is more powerful, it is more fuel efficient, it still makes the truck drive really, really good. One reason why it might not work very well is if the only option is that and you have no option for a V8 and people want a V8, well, you could actually still get a V8 from Ford. You could go to Ford or Chevy and get a V8 engine, and that might cause a lot of people to, instead of buying a Ram, they might go to Chevy or Ford if they're still addicted to that V8 power, the V8 torque, and the V8 sound. And the next failure on this list is the new Ram EV truck. And as you can see here, Ram's not even confident in the new truck selling. They've actually delayed the electric truck launch to 2026, and instead they're betting on the extended range Ram Charger. Stellantis is tapping the brakes on the all-electric Ram 1500 REV truck and will push its launch back all the way into 2026. Citing slow industry demand for half-ton battery electric pickups, the automaker had originally planned to begin selling the electric truck to customers in the first half of 2025. Instead, they're going to focus on their extended range truck that gets an estimated 690 miles of range through a novel but not unheard of approach of combining a battery with a gas generator. So this actually is a trend to where a lot of these automotive manufacturers are realizing not as many people are ready to adopt and buy an EV, especially an EV truck, and they're just having to walk back and actually build what the consumers are looking for. And then a final failure that I think Ram is going to be struggling with is they got rid of the TRX, specifically the TRX with the V8 engine. Most people who want to buy these fast Dodges, the fast Ram trucks, the really cool ones, they want that Hemi V8, and they want that instant torque, and now it's been replaced by the Ram RHO, which is basically a TRX with the twin turbo inline-6. Not many people are that excited about it. Ram is actually pushing it pretty hard through YouTube and social media, basically kind of trying to force it on people. There probably will be some early adopters that just want to show off that, oh, look at me, I bought the latest, greatest Ram. But in reality, it's just not as fun as a Hemi V8. And a point that I want to make is just listen to the V8 of the V8 Hemi TRX compared to the new RHO. They just sound completely different. As you heard there, one of them is a really exciting sound that makes you really happy, and the other one is just kind of meh. So the TRX switching to a twin turbo, not that great. So now we're moving on to another one of the good things, and this is where the title of the video comes in. There's some big news that the CEO of Stellantis and this new CEO of Ram, Tim Kuniskis, has recently announced, and they were talking about that they're now thinking about bringing back the Hemi V8, and Kuniskis is basically known as the father of the Hemi V8, and so now that he's back, it looks like the Hemi is going to be back. Now, he did say it's not without its challenges in bringing back an engine that another CEO decided to get rid of, but all of the tooling is still there. Their ability to make it should still be there. It's just going to take a little bit of time to bring it back. But at the end of the day, that's some really good news. And I think people would be really excited that the Hemi V8 is coming back. It's going to happen. It's going to take some time, but that will allow Ram to stay competitive. So anyways, that's the end of the video. If you made it this far, please subscribe to the channel and also hit that like button so more people can see it. And I'll see you in the next one.